Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lix24.
Start again, mate, because I talked over the top.
Oh, fucking hell. No, we're not going to start again, we're going to keep going.
Alright, fair enough.
We're going to keep going. Bit of change of pace today, guys. I thought, because I haven't been on for quite a while, few things have been happening, been busy, dog had got sick, got better, that kind of thing. So for a bit of a change of pace, we've got a friend over who I'm very going to quickly ask him what his YouTube name's going to be. He's got to think about it now before I actually introduce him. And just to have a bit of back and forth, bit of banter, that kind of thing. Just put it on in the background, chill, paint, whatever. There's no real news to talk about. Apocalypse has been, it's out. What else is there? Night Codex, that's dropped. New Night models are out. And I think we're just holding a breath, really, 40k wise, anticipating what's coming next. So I have with me today my good friend,
Bone Wraith.
Bone Wraith. Very nice.
I panicked. I couldn't think of anything other than Wraith Bone, and then I had to try and just put a little spin on it or something.
My good friend, Bone Wraith.
AKA Chris.
AKA Chris. Here just to go over a few things, have a bit of a chat, have a good, nice cup of coffee.
Yep.
And just to see where it goes. So, Apocalypse, it's had its run up and it's had its release. Now, I've looked at a few forums, and I think you've commented on this yourself. A few people have seen this as sort of the beta test for 9th edition, because 8th edition is getting a bit long in the tooth now, isn't it?
Well, it's only been out for, what, a couple of years?
Well, how long do editions normally last for?
Well, before 8th, you know, they were quite lengthy, weren't they? I think probably talking, what was it? I mean, I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't think it's as long as you think it is, my friend. Because it's been a while now, 8th has.
Oh, right. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if at the 4-year mark now, because of how quickly they are, you know, churning out new material, new models, smaller games as well. They're trying to get out as much content as possible in a fairly sort of quick sort of turnaround time. They're pretty sort of reactive to everything. So it wouldn't surprise me now if we're looking at maybe like a 4-year window between editions. Mm-hmm. So this sort of fits in with that sort of timeline. We were about halfway through that window. They've just released Apocalypse, which then gives us a couple of years of really testing and adapting that and taking. It's not going to be exactly the same as Apocalypse, obviously, but I think you'll see certain rules and certain things that have been used for Apocalypse might end up coming into 9th edition.
Specifically, the damage phase.
Yeah, again, just from stuff I've seen online, from people I talk to, it's the same how I feel and how obviously yourself and friend Jamie feels as well. You spend so long painting models, especially like the big models.
Oh,
For me, it's my Wraith Knight. For Jamie, it's his Construct for his Necrons. You spend so long, and then with the current rule set, to have that on the table, it's a bullet magnet. Straight away, everyone is going to plow everything into that one particular unit.
Unless you've got like some sort of like sneaky tactics. Obviously, you use different craft worlds, you get shrouding off or something like that. You're going to put it down, and then if you don't get first turn, you're going to pick it straight back up again, aren't you?
It's going, and
you're going to get shot off the table.
Yeah, so it's a lot of money. It's a lot of hours of investment, time-wise.
I mean, we're going under the assumption that you've actually painted it to tabletop standard here. You've not just slapped it together and put it on.
Yeah.
Because I like to think like a lot of people will get a lot more enjoyment if they've actually painted it to a tabletop standard or a standard which they're happy with. You don't want to be spending, like I said, hours and hours. It could be, it could be a project that lasts weeks or months just on and off, building up these nice big units, these nice big models, and then put them on the table, and then turn one, because you've lost the initiative, bang, that's it.
Yeah, it's been close. The game I had with Jamie last week, or whenever it was, I managed to steal initiative off him at the start, which he wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
And I could have very easily have taken it off turn 1, but I decided to split my last bit of fire. Rather than trying to overkill it, I thought I should be able to take it out with what was left. I couldn't. And his construct was down to, 2 wounds at the end of the first...
2 or 3 wounds.
Yeah. I think he had 1 or 2 wounds left at the end of the first turn.
Yeah, and that's just
straight away.
What was that from Dark? That was just from Dark Reapers, wasn't it?
Primarily, there was a lot of Dark Reapers got pretty.
16 wounds on there, something like that.
18 wounds.
18 wounds
from Dark Reapers, but again, that's over average, and I was rolling pretty hot on that first turn.
Well,
I got
yeah.
lucky. One, stealing the initiative in the first place, but then do that. So yeah, I had, and there was other things as well. I had my Wraith Knight on there, so I did a bit of damage from that. So I could have taken it off. Now, straight away, it didn't go off first turn, and in the end, it was a close game. We drew, but Jay didn't. He wasn't happy, obviously, about it.
No. I mean, you can imagine why.
Yeah, and I'd be exactly the same. So I think going back to the original point, I can see them bringing in what they've done with Apocalypse, where the damage phase is then resolved at the end of the entire turn. So you both have the opportunity then to use certain units within that turn. I just see that coming into ninth.
I just have a feeling that when GW introduced Knights way back when, they opened a sort of Pandora's box, where now the meta is going to include these big super killy units, like the Castellan Knights for Imperium, and they're just going to be it's going to be the case of, right, I've got to either build my list to survive turn one of getting shot by these things, or I've got to have these things on my list, because if I don't have them in my list, I'm going to get smashed. And I think they've sort of like let the cat out of the bag now, especially with the advent of Chaos Knights. Every army, or most armies, unless you're playing like, on a side note, Genestealer Cult's getting quite popular, because it's more of a thinking man's army. You can sort of take where they come on, that kind of thing. Unless you've got an army with that kind of flexibility, or you're just going for pure horde mode, where you like think yourself, right, I'm going to face a gunline army, so I just need bodies and bodies and bodies. Then the games are going to be kind of like very samey, if you get what I mean. Like, you're always going to bring your knight. Your opponent's always going to bring their big knight. It's just going to be a case of who gets first turn.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that depends, really. There's something very thematic and very just appealing about having those big units on. One, they look fantastic.
Yes, they do.
And it's all building into the whole idea of these big grand battles taking place. So, you know, people that get immersed in it anyway.
I've got nothing against the models or the way they look, the way they introduced. I just think that, I don't know, I think they've hurt the game being able to be played. If there was like, you can only have these models if you're playing a 2001 point plus game, that kind of thing. So you're playing, because essentially then you're playing 2,500 points, aren't you? There's a lot of stuff going on.
So it's similar to certain models then, like back in 7th, where they said Apocalypse only, like Jamie's Pylon.
Yeah.
That was Apocalypse only. Still brought it.
Jamie could have brought his Pylon.
He could have.
Yeah.
And my Wraith Knight would not be there after the first turn.
Turn one, bang,
guaranteed
macro weapon, dead.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. I don't think it takes away or subtracts from the game at all. I think it adds to it. Whether or not you want to use it, I do get where you're coming from. Again, speaking to friends who've shown up for a match, there's not really been any sort of talk between themselves and whoever it is they're playing first. Then they rock up with their army, which is just, you know, a nice mix of different units. Nothing big, no sort of knights or anything like that. And then he finds out that that their opponent's running a full knight list. Imperial Knight list.
Like 3 knights.
Yeah, and he just had nothing to deal with it. Excuse me. He had nothing in his army that could deal with that. So, yeah, I do get when you go to those games, or when you have those games, and you're not prepared for it, you don't get the same level of enjoyment out of it, because you can't do anything. So
yeah, it's that feeling of just being completely open and helpless. It really makes the game not fun anymore. Yeah. And I know people will always sort of, you'll have a gentleman's agreement, unless like you're going into it having that kind of agreement. Right, you're gonna bring a knight. I'm just going to let you know I'm bringing a knight, and you're like, right, okay, my friend's bringing a knight. But then you kind of like tailor this to fight the knight, and it's kind of taken away from the surprise. So he's bringing this. Oh, he's bringing this. It's one of those things that could work well or could not work well.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, again, I think it's balanced out quite a bit now. So even if you weren't to where you were rocking up, and it wasn't perhaps you were going to play your friend, you were going down to a local gaming place, and you were playing someone random. You know, they rock up and they put down a knight or something equivalent.
Well, that's happened to me before.
Yeah. But I think there's enough. It's balanced out in the game enough now so that you can still. There are ways of dealing with those units. One, they're expensive in points, So
Didn't your knight just get a 100-point reduction in the last FAQ?
yeah, but it needed it. So.
That's fine then. Yours needed it. Everything else is very expensive, but yours is just right now.
Yeah, it's perfect now. Yeah, so I mean, mine kitted out was still, I think, came in at 500 points, around 500 points. It's a lot. It is a lot of points, but there's ways of dealing with that. Even if you're not going to destroy it, it's only that thing can only do so much damage. Unless it's a Tau one, in which case it can just
do an infinite amount of damage to everything.
Just keep shooting. But with the whole thing about you can, even if your army gets wiped out, you can still win the game if you've got more points or if you've won it on objectives.
Yeah.
So that makes it now a much more interesting dynamic because you can completely bypass and ignore, and that was perhaps part of my tactic going in against Jamie and his construct. I thought I could try and deal with this directly and just blast it off the table, or I can just leave it, ignore it, avoid it as much as possible, slow it down and focus on getting objectives because he's not going to put as many points into other things. Now it's hard for us to really sort of to give a fair judgment on this because we only play each other really, don't we?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't think having big units like that takes anything away from the game. As long as you should really expect, I think, that somebody is going to, as long as you always expect that something like that could get played, it's not going to always take you by surprise. And it's just trying to have a nice balanced army.
I suppose I just don't like having to feel like I've been constantly having to be prepared to fight these guys, like as a NID player, like predominantly.
Yeah.
In my Arsenal, I'll go into Forge World and picking up like your Barb Terrajul, your Sire Terrajul. You've not got really much in the way of shooting bang bang that could really take on a knight, unless you're like rocking with 2 Tyrannofexes. And even then, the Rupture Cannon, it ain't great. It's not amazing.
You haven't, in fairness, or again, you would be able to comment better than I can on your Arsenal book for Tyranids.
If it was a case of, right, I'm going to get Old One Eye in combat with a few of his mates in combat with a knight, then that's not an issue.
Yeah,
but as we know, the game's all about the shooty bang bang, isn't it?
Yeah, it's more tailored towards the shooting phase as opposed to melee. That's a difficult thing for your army and for other similar armies that it is very difficult unless you get lucky with the deployment. You get first turn. And then other factors, again, go in your favour. It's going to be very difficult to get units that you want into combat without them taking some serious firepower in the process. Yeah, it is tough, but you do have the ability still to take on the knights.
The tools are there, and a lot of it's luck based. At the end of the day, yeah. I kind of resent feeling that I have to take a certain kind of thing. But again, that's like we don't know much about. The high-end meta of these things, do we? I mean, we're not that kind of thing.
No, we're not.
I'm just thinking for me, I think the introduction of knights and knight-sized units and the way they've done it, for me, I think it's done the game slightly more harm than good. But that's just my own personal opinion. Fair enough. We have gone off on a little bit of a tangent. If we circle back round to Apocalypse, obviously, we reckon Apocalypse, or a lot of people are saying, right, a lot of these rules in Apocalypse, predominantly the damage phase and not so much the initiative, because they played around with that with Kill Team and other games as well, where you roll for initiative to see who goes first per turn. Definitely the damage phase. So everything stays as it is until you allocate damage at the very end before turn 2.
Yeah.
I reckon that would be very, very good for 40k, but it would really screw with a lot of people's lists or current armies, let's say, for Alpha Strike armies, Grey Knights. They've had the boot heel given to them roughly as it is already. Imagine if even if you can have Alpha Strike back, your opponent's still going to be there. He's still going to be able to hurt you before the end of the turn.
Yeah. I mean, that's a tricky one. I'm not quite sure what the answer is to that. Grey Knights they're a whole different recording.
Let's just put Grey Knights to one side for the moment. And, like I say, stay with the Apocalypse. Do you think 9th edition, if it is on the horizon, if it isn't on the horizon, when it does actually rock around, do you think this is something they're going to adopt into it? The old damage phase? Or do you think it's something that might just live in Apocalypse because of just the way Apocalypse is played? There's a lot of stuff going on in Apocalypse, and they have boiled it down to its bare bones, and quite rightly so, I think. Because can you imagine? They've tried to keep 40k as it is, as unbloaty as possible.
Yeah.
But whether they've succeeded or not succeeded, we could talk about that in a bit. But I think if they can just try and remove all that from Apocalypse and just have it bare bones basic, I think that's just generally better for that kind of game as itself.
Yeah, it's a lot quicker as well from what I've been told. I mean,
Quicker than some actual 40k games.
Yeah. So it's more streamlined. And for most people, that's probably got to be one of the more attractive, points about it. One of the biggest appeals, because we don't have, it's difficult to commit a whole day to a big scale game.
No.
It's hard enough when we play a game of 40k, and that takes for sometimes 5 hours or whatever. It's a lot of time out of your day. Whereas if you think, actually, we can have a game, Apocalypse, a massive scale game where it's death thematic, got all these big units, like all these numbers on the table, but you're done within a couple of hours.
Yeah,
it just makes it a lot more fun.
Play with all your toys.
You can play up with all your toys, yeah, exactly. And there's the opportunity then, rather than it just being one game between two people over the course of the day, you can have a couple of games perhaps. So other friends can get involved in it.
Yeah. Multiple games, doesn't have to be two people. Can have multiple players.
Yeah, exactly. I only really see it as a positive. Now, how much of Apocalypse actually comes? How much of the rule set filters through into 40k? Obviously, this is all just speculation. I don't know. It remains to be seen. I think the initiative phase, that sort of thing, I can imagine.
I can almost guarantee that will be adopted into 9th edition.
Yeah,
because every other 40k sort of gaming system has adopted it. Kill Team's got it.
Yeah.
Apocalypse has got it.
It just seems to work as well.
It just seems to work, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what filters over from it. I do think they won't make it like for like, because they'll want to have it so the two games are different, because otherwise you kind of...
It's a hard balancing act, isn't it? A lot of people like the more complicated elements of 40k.
It's got too complicated though, because you've got...
Well, that's what they said Horus Heresy was. All the templates and all that faff, and that complicated rule set, that's Horus Heresy.
Yeah, no, I get that, and I do sort of miss elements of that in truth, but...
Really? You miss the templates in that?
Yeah, I do, yeah, a little bit. They did take more time. That was, again, 7th edition was even longer in terms of playtime.
Oh, yeah.
The issue, the big issue I've got with 8th edition now, and this is just pretty much echoing what a lot of people say online, is that you've got the original core rules and you've got your codex, but then there's been so many FAQs and so many other bits of information that have been released since then. Like for me, I can't keep track. I've completely lost track of what certain rules have been, been FAQ'd and been updated. So,
like with the new fly rules regarding flies and bases and where they can place in that.
Yeah, it's stuff like that. It's hard to keep track of it all. So, and you think, I need to check that particular online document or that download, and it's all over the shop. So, what I actually would probably quite like to see is we're in the sort of the midpoint now of 8th edition, or what I think might be the midpoint, where they do like perhaps a release
8.2?
8.5.
8.5.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Where everything's then consolidated together. And probably I love the physical copies of the books, but I think what they should do now, and someone made this suggestion, they should, when you buy a physical copy, you should also then be able to get a code to download an electronic version of it, and that electronic version is something that is always being updated by GW. So when they release an FAQ, it automatically updates that electronic version. So when you refer to that particular one, you know that what you're looking at is up to date.
Okay. Well, that is fair enough. I mean, but the only problem with that is, you could say, well, what about the people who don't have access to the internet? What about the people who don't have access to tablets or
but
that kind of
there's
thing?
Always going to be an element of that. But at the same time, most people do now.
They want to try and make the game, rightly so, as inclusive as possible.
Yeah.
So it's welcoming to everyone.
Yeah, exactly. That's why you still have your physical copies, and you still make.
But then you're playing with, technically, an out-of-date set of rules.
Yeah, but again,
it's a very hard difficult balancing act, isn't it?
Well, it's no different than what it is now, though, is it? Then it's no different than what it is. So people, yeah, you can still buy the physical copies, and then as and when FAQs are being updated, most people have access to the internet, be it on the phones or whatever. So you can always check, obviously, for material online. But for those that perhaps who can't, then you have the ability to maybe go into your local GW store to get those updated, printed off PDFs or something, or whatever it is. But I think just by having that electronic version, it's only going to really improve the overall, the enjoyment of players.
Yeah. Well, I think we can agree now that Apocalypse, putting a pin in this conversation, Apocalypse is not just on the whole a good thing for the game. The only thing I don't particularly like about it is that it's required to play. I think it's a 6x6 board, which immediately means people who didn't have were struggling with real estate in 8th really do not have the real estate to do it on their own now. They have to go into a store.
Yeah, well,
but that's the nature of Apocalypse, isn't it? It's big. It's big.
I think it's supposed to be more sociable. So the idea is you're getting out, you're having bigger games in these, your local gaming venues. But you don't have to. You're not restricted.
You can play it on. You
can't play it on small. It's going to make it more difficult, probably.
Yeah. I mean, for people who don't like getting things close in the face in the first turn, they're going to have a real hard time with that.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I see it as it's designed more to be a sociable, bigger scale sort of game where you can get more players involved, etc.
Yeah, well, that's fine. Like I say, I think Apocalypse on the whole now is generally a good thing. Probably more than likely beta testing for 9th edition.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing it. That's when I can get enough units to.
More than likely, circling back to one thing you just mentioned about bloat, and the fact that now with FAQs, a lot of us are dealing with have our old books and whatnot that are technically out of date now, aren't they? I know mine is. 2-Minute Codex definitely technically out of date because they've had an FAQ. The rulebook's technically out of date. The one hard copy I've got because that's had an update. We're all dealing with this sort of bloat of information. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have access to an internet or a document online which automatically updates, you're technically dealing with an out-of-date rule set. Now, there are multiple ways GW could tackle this because it is an issue. Because people don't like to drag around loads and loads of different books, do they?
No.
I mean, to play a game with the units I like to use, I've got to have the 8th edition rulebook, technically, or the little fold-out sheet. I've got to have my codex. I've got to have my Imperial Armour Forge World book, because obviously you've got some forgeries in there, the Blanthrope, Stonecrusher, Carnifex, Demicheron, if and when I decide to use him. That kind of thing. That's 3 books straight away. And you're not including things like the Vigilus campaign books.
Yeah.
Those things.
Yeah.
If you want to play a specific detachment out of them. So it really does mean that you're dragging along quite a lot of information. Now, what I thought would be quite good for GW, and be quite smart, people like hard copies. They like to thumb through them, they like to look at them. What if GW, instead of releasing books, they did a binder? Sort of like, you could have a themed binder, whatever.
Okay, I get where you're going.
Yeah, you get where I'm going.
Yeah.
Binder, right? All your rules and your data cards for your army, or basically, you clip them in.
Mm-hmm.
Update a new one. Fine. Unclip the old one. New one gets released. Clip that back in.
Yeah.
If you wanted to tailor your army so it's built to a specific way, instead of thumbing through the book to find your cards, you just put them at the front, so you know exactly where they are, exactly where you need them.
Yeah, I quite like that idea actually. I think that would work quite well. And I'm sure they could come up with
they could
a fairly funky design to make it's more.
Limited edition binder. It's got 10% more tentacles than the rest of the binders.
Yeah.
Or for you, it's got...
Just in terms of how you can clip it in so it doesn't look like a generic office binder.
Yeah.
But, I think that's a great idea. GW, if you actually do listen to small fries like us, should probably take that on board.
And if they're looking at updating the rules, obviously, it's just a case of swapping out the pages. I'm sure GW wouldn't mind if their stores print off a page. They've got printers at the stores.
Yeah, well, that's obviously a bit more tricky, just because of obviously costs involved with printing and things like that. But if you're able to do your own printing,
yes,
or when they get these new FAQs or they get these updated rule sets that come out.
Well, they do now, don't they? They
release like information or packs that you can buy, which are update packs for your books.
Yeah.
So you can buy them, or if you want to, you can print them off yourself, but they're just not going to look quite as good.
Yeah, and I think that would cut down on a lot of dragging around of several volumes in terms. It's got a lot better, to be fair, but that would cut down a lot, and that is an ongoing issue with 40k and just wargaming in general, really, I suppose.
Yeah.
Particularly in Games Workshop's line. Now, here's something I wanted to ask you. You know how Games Workshop? It's no secret now that Games Workshop have been releasing sort of box sets. We're not on about the big bundle box sets where you save money. We're on about the things like Blackstone Fortress and things like that.
Like the mini games.
Yeah, like the mini games.
Yeah.
And a lot of people see that as like grounds testing for how popular these new models are.
Yeah, I can see that.
With the Blackstone Fortress one in particular, I mean, they released the new couple of new sculpts of the Chaos Space Marines in there.
Yeah, now
You
those are out in a box set, I believe. Or are they unique to?
I don't know about the Chaos Lord, but I think the 2 Chaos Space Marines in there, I think they're about part of the generic, the new Chaos Space Marines Brews they've released. One thing I was going to ask you, because you play mainly Eldar or Eldari, whatever you want to call it. You got the Eldari...
The Ranger.
The Ranger in there,
Yeah.
When do you think that the Games Workshop will be using this as an excuse to... Well, we are technically at the very precipice of the end of the new codexes, aren't we? We've only got Sisters now, and that's it.
Yeah. What? So
you know what I'm going to ask you, because this conversation's crept up between me and you many times.
Every time we talk about 40k, I'm always ranting on about how old the range of models is for the Eldar now.
Specifically, the use of Finecast, or as it's lovingly referred to by some
Finecrap.
Finecrap.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand if Games Workshop know this problem. I mean, they must admit they have ears. If the product they're using is being lovingly having a word replaced with crap, then it's obviously not a good look, is it? I mean, I think the sculpts and the actual processes got better, but it's still not great.
Yeah, well, they've got to, in order to update them so that you then get a new model coming out in plastic. You've got to redesign. Just from the little bit I do understand from having a conversation with someone who works at GW, they've got to redesign obviously the molds and everything like that for them. So they're using old molds which were originally created for when they were made out of metal. They're obviously using a different material now, but that has implications in itself. And can cause issues where, like with Finecast, where you get bits breaking off. It tends to be quite delicate. But going back to your original point, I can see Rangers, a new squad of Rangers coming out possibly by mid next year. Yeah, I could see that happening. Anything like any sort of new sculpt like that coming out in a box, because it straight away it generates interest.
Yes, and that's what these boxes are for.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I could see Rangers coming out. I hope that gives the momentum then for them to keep updating more and more of the range.
Because some GW ranges now are old. I think Orcs are robbed because they didn't get a new Ghazghkull.
Yeah,
I mean, we got a brand new Abaddon.
Yeah.
But no Ghazghkull?
Yeah, I don't really have a lot to put in on that. I think it's a shame because he's one of those...
He is an iconic model.
Yeah, exactly. It would be great to see him with his own sort of official model, updated model. That'd be great. I just want them, hopefully, to speaking purely selfishly, because the Eldar do have, I think, the oldest range now. Since Orcs had a little bit of love, only a little bit, mind, but they had a bit of love with the new Codex and some of the new models that they had released for them. They've got the oldest range now, Eldar. They've got, I think, the largest range of Finecast models as well.
They've got a hell of a lot.
They have a lot of characters which are in Finecast.
Fine what?
Nearly. So I'd love to see the momentum to keep building and them to release more and more updated versions of the model range, but that remains to be seen. It's it's not Imperial though, is it? It's not Space Marines and it's not Chaos. So
this is what irks me a little bit, because the
Xenos don't really get the love. So, that's how it feels. Anyway,
it depends who you are, really. I mean, some Xenos are favoured more than others. We're not all born equal, are we? I mean,
Well, Gene Stealer Cult is a brand new army.
One that's finding, like I said, finding a lot of success for the
Yeah,
meta.
yeah, it's doing well. So they're building more and more into that particular range. It's doing well. Tyranids has a fairly decent range of models. It's got some old stuff. But
Tyranids have
generally
had a good shout.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Necrons are okay. They haven't had they haven't had any sort of love for a while. They've got a lot of older models now, haven't they?
But they age well though, don't they?
Yeah, they haven't really. I mean, some of the older models.
Part of their theme, I suppose, they don't really age.
Yeah, some of the older models look better, in my opinion. But
I mean, yeah, that's another thing. I mean, we've got Jamie. He really likes the flayed ones, but he will not purchase the Finecast flayed ones because they look garbage in comparison.
Yeah.
Even to the point where he's looking at eBay and sales of old metal flayed ones go up to like for 10, like 50, 60 quid sometimes.
Yeah.
Because they're better.
Yeah. Better quality.
Yeah.
I think most people would say that about metal over the Finecast.
Yeah. But I think it always annoys me a little bit because we know as Xenos players we just gotta accept the fact and come to terms with the fact that GW makes Space Marines because Space Marines bring in the bacon. They make the monies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's how you pull in the monies.
That's the crux of it.
You release new Space Marines, but it always annoys me when you see them releasing. Oh, we're just releasing a brand new Space Marine range. Oh, a new Space Marine super tank with guns coming out of its ears or whatever. And you're like, that's nice, but how about this really old ass model that you could have updated?
Yeah. Give the Xenos some love, bro. It's just,
It's not even so much Xenos, it's the Imperium versus Xenos question. It's the fact that these models are really old now. Really old.
Yeah, I think it's
unless they want to keep that money train of chugging.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where perhaps they're not investing into updating a range because people don't buy into it, but people
they want to see a return off it.
Yeah, but again, people aren't going to buy into, like with Aldor, I use that as the prime example because that's what I collect. Most people aren't going to buy because I refuse to buy now a lot of I won't buy ranges because I'm fed up of Finecast. But you're not going to. People aren't going to buy into an old range like that where the material used to make the models is also not particularly great. The sculpts look quite old. People aren't going to spend the money on it, so you're not going to make money off that range, or you're not. It's that sort of catch-22. They need to make that initial investment and update the range for people to then generate the interest in those models. And that's where, going back to your original point about the small box sets like Blackstone Fortress, that's what perhaps helps to generate a little bit of interest maybe in particular ranges, or they sort of then monitor online talk and traffic about or which of these models has had quite a lot of interest. And
this brand new Ranger, yum, nice please, more.
Oh, and a lot of people going, oh, new Ranger, oh, that can only mean, and the more people that are then talking about it, that gives GW a good indicator of, oh, maybe we should look at perhaps.
I think GW are in a very fortunate position where the community does a lot of the legwork for them.
Yeah, but again, at the same time, they are. I think they pretty much planned out what they're releasing 3 years down the line. So
no, we know this. I mean, we spoke to the guys when we go to Games Day or the Open Days they have a 3-year plan.
Yeah,
they're always working on a 3-year plan.
That really then doesn't fit with what I've just said because obviously Blackstone Fortress was only recently released. What start of the year or last
not too
year?
long ago. But something else, a big golden sort of like a flaw with that argument. Custodes came out of nowhere when they were released. Absolutely nowhere. Now, I don't think that was a 3-year plan thing. I think that was something they made because Custodes originally came out in a box set, didn't they? They came out with Sisters of Silence. I think it was the Talons of the Emperor box set.
Talons of the Emperor, yeah. It was
with that
30k, wasn't it? Initially.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So I don't think that was a 3-year plan. If to be honest, I think that was one of those things. Where I was like, hey, Custodes, 40k Custodes.
I think that was worked, and it might have been not quite 3 years, but I reckon it wasn't planned. It's not like it was a last minute thing again. Because
I'm not talking like a week, like a pissed up weekend on the Goldschlager. Hey, how about Custodes? That sounds like it makes some money.
No, I'm talking like over a couple of years probably before they were released that they'd planned for them.
Oh, the process for it actually developing takes a while.
Again, there will have been talk back then when they originally made that decision to go down and like develop that particular range. There will have been talk on the internet about, or from the release of the novels, people sort of creating interest in a particular model range. Then sort of talking about, why didn't we have custodian models? That'd be mint, or etc. etc. So it could have been formed on from that type of, I guess.
And to GW's credit, they've released some of the best looking models in 40k, particularly the bikes.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh god, yeah, they are bloody sexy. Yeah. Sexy models.
It's like with the Eldar jet bikes. Yeah, you could have Eldar jet bikes, or you could have these giant flying golden eagles.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying it, but part of me wants to collect custodians just because of how cool those bikes are.
But if we tie this in with something we were talking about earlier, custodians have really, well, they're not direct cause, but they've really helped put one of the nails in Grey Knight's coffins, haven't they? You could have a small elite force, or you could have this small elite force, which is better in
by far every way,
every stretch. I mean, you could argue, well, yeah, Grey Knight's better at fighting demons. They are.
Yeah, but
potentially.
Listen, right. Let's not talk about Grey Knights because it's only going to make me upset again. So, Grey Knights, rest in peace. I'm sure they'll have their day again. There may well be a plan to sort of reinvent them and to have them come out, and there'll be Primaris sort of equivalents of them. But
Prime Knight.
Yeah, they're kind of dead in the water at the moment. Other people might disagree. I think there was a recent tournament where someone actually won with Grey Knights. He was a very, very talented player, from what I understand, and he took
the cards are very much stacked against them, aren't they, Grey Knights?
Yeah, they're just.
If you're talking pure Grey Knights.
Yeah, they're just, again, it's when you want just a casual game, they're not a great force because they're not particularly, well, they're not strong with where they're at the moment. So it means you have to run a meta list, which isn't particularly thematic and isn't particularly fun. And when you're having a game with your mates, that's what you want most of the time. So I like to take a variety of different units, things that I can sort of, allow me to kind of get immersed into the game. But if you're having to basically take, 3 squads of
Paladins,
interceptors and stuff like
Paladins, Dread Knights, that kind of
thing.
Yeah. Interesting point, actually. During 7th edition, there were a few characters and creatures in codexes where they didn't have actually models for.
Yeah.
And then GW came and cut them out of the codexes completely because third parties were making substitute models.
Right.
Grey Knights have, I think, to my knowledge, now got the only model where they don't have the only codex entry where they don't have a model for it, but they still do it. It's the Grandmaster in Dreadnought.
It was,
I think that is the only example, which was a bit of the kick in the tits for me because there was a character in the old Nid codex called the Parasite of Mortex, I think it was. It was such a great sounding model. Like a creature that impregnates things with rippers and they burst out and create more rippers and things like that.
Right, yeah.
Really body horror kind of thing. Really liked it. And it was cut out because obviously people were making third-party copies of it. GW then said, no, fucking smash. You can't make third-party copies if it doesn't exist, sucker.
Yeah.
And it's gone.
Yeah, it is odd. I don't know how true that is about whether that is the only one. You're better informed than I am on that.
I know a lot of people are substituting the Contemptor Dreadnoughts from Custodes.
Yeah, because they look so much
better.
They
look so much better.
Yeah, they're not basically baby harnesses on legs. The Grandmaster was an interesting one. I remember getting the White Dwarf at the time when they... it was when they released the Codex, wasn't it?
Yeah, because they showed you how to convert.
Which I used, and I did my own conversion of it. Yeah, so it is a bit odd, that, to be in truth. What their thinking behind that was, I don't know. Maybe they sort of already knew where Grey Knights were going to be by the end of the year.
In the toilet?
So they thought, we can't take away the Grandmaster Dreadnought. We need to add this in, because otherwise, it's... I feel sorry for these guys already.
If you take away the Grandmaster and Dreadnought armor, what else have they got?
Yeah.
Because that guy can bring the pain. He can bring the hurt.
He can. Yeah, he's mint. I do, and I love the model range. Well, I love the models. I love the style of them. I love the paladins. It is a great force, and I love the story behind them. But
They did kind of cut their own feet out from under the law, didn't they? Because like, hey, the Grey Knights, the most elite of the elite, super secret force, top secret.
they're supposed to be the best of the best.
The best of the best. You won't find any suckers harder than the. Oh, wait, who are the? Oh,
No, the Golden Boys are here. In their flying chariots.
Yeah, unlucky boys. You take second prize. Still right as good as gold.
Bugger off back to Titan. You're not needed anymore. Yeah, but I suspect we will get an updated range, and part of me.
Do you reckon they'll fold other things into that codex as well, assassins and that kind of thing?
No, I think they'll keep that separate because in the law they act as their own separate body.
Well, they are agents of the Inquisition, aren't they?
Yeah, but they're their own force.
Yeah, but they do.
They operate under the Inquisition, but from again, it's been a while since I've properly read up on them. They aren't dictated necessarily by the Inquisition. I think they still have obviously their own council, the Grand Master, etc. Supreme Grand Master. Then you've got your Grand Masters. They make the decisions, the ultimate decisions of where the forces go. And they're sort of guided by the Inquisition.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like,
they're
sort
not.
of like, hey boys, there's a demon.
That's why they were separate to the. Obviously, the Inquisition had its own codex at the end of 7th, didn't it? I believe.
Yeah, Orders of the Age of the Inquisition. Yeah,
Yeah.
they did. Yeah, and they did say you could pull in like a paladin squad.
Yeah, it's basically
Backup.
like a what do you call it, allied
Yeah.
support or
Yeah,
you know.
whatever it was at the end of 7th. But when you're going on about Ages of the Inquisition, I mean, Death Watch technically Ages of the Inquisition, and they've got their own codex, quite successful codex by all accounts. So I suppose if you're rolling it all into one, then they'd have to be rolled into it as well. Technically, you're going down that line.
Yeah,
I cannot see that.
No, they'll keep them separate. I just hope that I just get this slight. I don't know. It's like makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I can imagine them releasing a new updated range for Grey Knights. Still keeping in with things like obviously Dread Knights and stuff will still be the same.
Yeah.
They might release a new version of it, maybe, I don't know.
Not you can put any hope.
Yeah. Yeah, I can almost imagine an equivalent to what the effect that Custodes had when they were first dropped. The quality of the model, the scale of them as well. I can imagine just sort of this silver,
bigger, better.
Yeah, clad like grey clads. Powerhouse of a unit being dropped, and just at that point, my Eldar will take a back seat, and I will jump
straight back on that train.
I'll nosedive straight back into Grey Knights again.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, bigger and better, I think we are continuing to see with the release of the new Primaris tank, and obviously rumours of new Primaris models on the horizon, because eventually there's going to be new models of Primaris. The gradual, inexhaustible march towards making regular Space Bros obsolete.
2 sets, mate.
There we go.
Yeah, just wanted to make sure it was still recording. The screen was off for quite some
Wow,
time.
I would have been upset if we lost all that.
Jeez. So yeah, sorry, repeat that again, mate.
With the, obviously, Primaris had their new tank.
Yep.
Admech had their horrible fucking thing that I hate. I don't know why. That's a different topic for another time.
The hover buggy.
It's just awful. It's like a child's toy.
Yeah, it's
like,
not amazing.
No. We are forever seeing like a constant, never-ending march towards making the Space Marine range, or Adeptus Astartes range, the old range go bye-bye.
Well, yeah,
They'll phase them out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
When do you think that's going to happen? Because you just mentioned like, they're going to make...
Ninth edition will be the end of it, yeah. Because it was the same at the start of this edition.
You reckon it's going to be as early as 9th?
Yeah.
Think how many units...
If they go down... Well, this is just my opinion, and I'm sure, there might be a lot of people that disagree with me, but like we had at this one, the introduction of 8th, when we had the indexes originally released,
yes,
you still had a lot of the sort of special character models or whatever that was still included in that, but then when the codexes came out, they were gone. So I can imagine in 9th, because people have had 4 years to update their range, and because the rules for Primaris are so it's just they're just better, aren't they, than just regular Space
I
Bros?
mean, yeah, they look better.
They look better. The you know, you get more from more out of the model. I don't even know if you can buy. I don't even think you can buy the old Space Marine models anymore.
Oh, you can. You can.
Can
You
you?
still buy them, yeah.
Certain ones, is it?
No, you can still get the entire range. It's
Oh,
like varying flavors of Space Bros. You've got the Blood Angel Space. Because remember, it's not just Space Marines. You're thinking about all the other chapters as well. You're thinking Dark Angels, thinking Blood Angels, Space Wolves.
Yeah, I just
don't
after
think it's-
4 years though, I can see them saying basically, you know, we've moved on from that particular old range of Space Marines now, and it's they phase out the rules for them. They may still keep them in for certain chapters if they're not quite there yet.
I don't reckon.
But for a lot of the main chapters, like Ultramarines, I just don't see it. And I think most people after 4 years as well, people coming into the hobby now aren't going to buy the old Space Marines.
No.
They're going to buy the Primaris.
Yes.
Most people that have had Space Marines, of friends of ours that have collected Space Marines, they had the old models, and then they've slowly built up their Primaris, units or forces to add to it, and they've just stopped using the old models. They said, "Oh, I didn't want to get, I'm not going to get rid of them. I'm always going to keep including them." But then you start to realise that they actually don't do as well as you'd hope, and for the points, etc. You'd rather invest
Make
in the
them
Primaris equivalent.
So you were saying to try to make a better option available. So
Yeah. So that's so they make it then. Rather than them turning around now and saying, "Look, we've released these new models, like it or like it or not, we're stopping them."
Well, at the beginning when they first announced Primaris Space Marines, a lot of people did say, this you're just going to invalidate my old Space Marine range, and then GW were like, "No, mate, no, you can still bring them, you can still use them." And a little bit of me said, "Yeah, but for how long?"
Yeah.
For
Of
how
course,
long?
Everyone knew that.
I think
If you
people-
didn't,
I
you're
think
kidding
people-
yourself.
yeah.
But they've done it in a way where
Slowly catchy monkey.
Yeah, but they've done it in such a way where it makes you're making that decision to phase them out rather than they're doing it. They're still saying, no, you can still use them. We've still got models for you to buy if you want to buy them.
Well, they've already made the precedent in the law, haven't they? With not Rebooty Gilliman, with Malleus Calgar.
Oh, yeah,
he got primarified.
Yeah, he's been updated.
He's been updated, and he didn't die.
Yeah. So yeah, it's written into the law now where it can happen.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into that in terms of whether that fits or not. I honestly don't really have a particular opinion on it. I don't have really an issue with it, but they've done it in such a way where it's ultimately, as players and as hobbyists, we've made the decision to transition from that particular old range of models to the new ones. They haven't forced it on us, so therefore there is no resentment towards the company.
If if Primaris came out and no one bought them, then this wouldn't be an issue, would it? I mean, it's not an issue now. I just think this thing, not so much as 9th, but I personally think by the time 10th or 11th rolls round, I don't think regular Marines will be in Codex anymore.
Much before that, I honestly can see it in 9th.
Yeah.
I can honestly see it happening in 9th. I could be wrong, but I won't be surprised. The real indicator for it will be when they stop selling the models. Oh, we still got the units, but these models now, because they're all the sculpts, we just we're stopping the range, we're stopping the line from them, or perhaps you can buy them. We sort of build them on order or whatever, or make them on order. So when it gets to that point, and again, I wouldn't be surprised if that's something like a year or two before the next edition gets released. There's even more then argument for them to sort of say when the next edition comes round, because they haven't sold them for X amount of time. People have gradually phased them out of their own armies anyway. You'll see whether or not how often they're being used from the tournament scene, and that tends to be a big driver for a lot of the market.
Yeah.
I find. So when they stop getting used in those scenes, I think that's that's really a good indicator. So as and when the new version comes around, they'll basically stop.
Well, speaking of new versions, Chaos Knights.
Yeah.
You've been seeing pictures of these bad boys marching up and down the place?
To be honest, no.
Well, you did. You saw them at the games day.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. I'm gonna just as you're talking, I'm gonna bring up the pictures of them now.
Well, with the release of the Chaos Knights, obviously now Chaos have got access to their big stompy killer robots. I mean, they already had access to big stompy killy things. I mean, you had Magnus, Mortaria, and Lord of Skulls and that kind of thing. But now they've got their own knight equivalent, and I'm just wondering, when do you think we're going to be seeing Nurgle knights, Khorne knights, Slaanesh knights? Not through GW, through Forge World.
Oh, what? Where they just design a very specific model
Dedicated
for...
to a god, yeah.
I don't know what the law is with, because Imperial Knights, they aren't. They're their own house. They're their own thing.
Yeah,
and they basically support other Imperial forces.
This is why you can't get knights, not ultramarine knights or anything like that, because they're sort of like hired help, essentially, aren't they?
Yeah.
But the way Chaos works, obviously, you can have someone devoted to a particular god, like a religion. So you could have a knight that has been fully corrupted by a certain Chaos power.
And a lot of people have done their own custom jobs with doing stuff like that. Yeah,
some beautiful jobs out there.
Really good. I don't know. Yeah, there's quite possible. You could have a Knight of Nurgle and stuff like that, where it has. Obviously, you get your. Is it blessings from your
Gifts.
Chaos gods? Yeah.
Chaos
For whichever one.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm thinking more of an aesthetic point of view, because I can see that as a major Wonga.
Moneymaker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
If you got yourself a Khorne Berserker army and you want yourself a big Khorne Knight. It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Or Nurgle Knight, or Tzeentch or Slaanesh Knight.
Yeah, I can see it. Not everyone's into kit bashing and doing their own conversions. Some people that are into it can't necessarily get the result that they're after.
No.
So if you have a designed model, which gets like an official model that gets released, which means that you're almost guaranteed at the quality at the end of it, then great. Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah. Well, people have already said they're going to be taking the Chaos Knight legs and using them for the regular Knight's legs.
No, you know what? I know you've said that to me before. Looking at the legs, it looks very chaosy because it's almost like the sort of like a goat's legs, you know, like the demon. I forget what. There's that sort of there's the imagery of like the goat demon and stuff where the legs go backwards and stuff. I get it. That looks very thematic for them, but I don't think it worked for normal knights. I like the normal knights how they are. I get where they're a little bit perhaps rigid, and they need perhaps, I don't know, I wouldn't say redesigning, but it's supposed to look different. They're supposed to look warped, unnatural, and those legs add to that effect. Again, if you want to use them though, fair enough. Yeah, why not? It's your model, your choice. I personally though, I think they're more suited for a chaos themed knight as opposed to a standard.
I just think they look more practical than the regular knight legs. I think that if someone was to build a big machine with a walking machine, it would more likely have those kind of legs than the legs that the regular Imperial Knights have got.
I don't know. I don't know enough about robotics and stuff like that.
I'm just saying from an aesthetic point of view.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I like what they've got now. It's standard Imperial Knights, and I think these new Chaos Knights, they are just looked at some images on my phone, and you know the beautiful models.
Would you want more Knights as an Eldar player? Would you? Because Imperium have got like, I don't know, 59 million literally right now. So would you want more Knights?
A wider range of them.
More Wraith constructs. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that it can only add to it. I think.
Tell you what, those Titans that you have, those need updating.
But again, those things because of the expense of them, they're not going to be popular. They're not going to get purchased the same.
So they're made to order.
That could, they could be, because I know there's certain knights for Imperials and things, or like Reaver Titans or whatever they are. Where I think they are made to order.
Well, Reaver Titans have aged quite well, haven't they? Reaver and Warhound Titans, I think.
Yeah, I think
they've aged quite well. The Eldar ones, not so much.
No, they're I'm not quite sure how old they are, but they do look aged. I just don't like the helmets on them. I love the Wraith Knight. I love the way it's just basically got the full sort of
it looks
singular
it
head.
Looks like a Wraithbone construct, doesn't it?
It's like an anime sort of.
It does. I think
suit.
they were going down the anime when they originally designed their original Eldar Titans, but I think they could do with a Wraithboning up. If you get what I mean.
Yeah.
To make it look like they are made from Wraithbone and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know the story behind that. So are they piloted or are they spirit stoned up or whatever?
Behind Knights, I think the big Knights, I think they're piloted. Wraith Knights, I'm not sure whether they're piloted or whether it's like Wraith Stones.
Like several Wraith Stones all working in unison kind of thing.
I think they're piloted, but I couldn't be certain. The thing is, I'd love a wider range of Knights and stuff like that. Great.
Well, you've got different armaments, haven't you? I mean, you've got the Forge World varieties with the Death Spinners, the big Death Spinner cannons.
Yeah, but there's no real sort of difference in terms of aesthetic.
No, it's just rules, isn't it?
Yeah, really. But the thing is,
you've already got pretty much every level covered. You've got the regular dudes with the Wraith Guard and Wraith Blades. You've got Wraith Lords.
Tell you what, rather than seeing a new Knight come out, because I don't think they really need it. One, it's not really in the lore that they have their own sort of, like with Imperial Knights, where their own entity, they've got a load of history behind them, etc. It's not the same, from my understanding, with Eldar. What I would love them to do instead, and you might have already guessed where I'm going, and I've said this for a while now, and it was sort of hinted at when the Eldar Codex came out from a lot of the artwork that was in there, is a new GW official, not Forge World, GW one, of the Avatar of King.
Yes, you mentioned this before, yeah.
Yeah. Now, how that works against, because if they release a new one, is that then going to just directly compete with Forge World, so therefore it doesn't make a lot of sense? Yeah, it probably does. So what they could do instead, my idea, and I'm sure I've said this on one of your older episodes, but
I doubt it. This is the first episode you're in.
Oh right, yeah, okay, well yeah.
So definitely. That's fucking bullshit straight away, isn't it?
I'm still drunk from last night. It's a greater Avatar of King.
Yeah.
So just looking at the scaling from the artwork, it's so much bigger than most other things in there. It's to the point where it's actually the same size, or it looks to be the same size as a Wraith Knight. Now, the Forge World one is a beautiful model. I've got that model myself. It's fantastic. It's one of my favourite models. It's by far the best paint job I've done. It's great.
No, that's not classed as Titanic, is it?
No.
Neither is Magnus and Mortarion. They're not classed as Titanic either, I believe.
Don't know.
They're not. So
they're over 20 wounds, though.
What, Magnus and Mortarion? Are they? Well, I don't know. Let's not guess upon that, but I get where you're coming from, because they are shards, aren't they? The shards of the god.
Yeah, it's a shard, yeah. So what I'd like to see is a greater shard of Cain, basically.
I'll be careful, because if you start making your shards bigger, Necrons are going to start wanting bigger shards as well.
Yeah.
And the Star Gods will kick the shit out of the Catan if they get more power.
That's true, yeah, well, there's...
Out of the Avatar, sorry.
Yeah. I would love to see a greater Avatar come out where... that way it's not competing with the Forge World one, because that's just a standard Avatar which you can take, has its own sort of stat line, whatever. But then you have this greater shard, and that's on the scale of things like Mortarion,
like Knight size.
Yeah, that sort of size, and I could see that being really impressive actually. So I would love. That I would love, and I can imagine that being quite thematic and fitting in with the lore quite well. So.
Yeah, you can see that. You mean you wouldn't have to bend over quite so far to make that happen, would you? I mean, it's a pretty simple laws wise to explain away.
Also, I can't imagine all these shattered shards are exactly the same size.
Well, no, I mean, I can't remember the GW, not the Forge World, the GW Avatar. How big is that?
Tiny.
It's not very big, is it? It's
smaller, I think, from what I remember. I've got it in the attic somewhere, but it's
attic.
Buried. I think it's smaller than, with the plume on its head, it might be the same size. Yeah.
Could I be top knot?
I think it's slightly smaller than Guilliman, the new Guilliman model. So it's not big.
No.
And it looks. I'm sorry, but it looks terrible.
Yeah.
It looks terrible. That's
why. Because I can't remember the last time I went into a GW store and saw that thing on the shelf.
You don't. You can still buy it. You can buy it off the website, I believe, but I don't think I see a couple every time I go into either go down to Warhammer World or go into a GW store. Occasionally, if there's an Eldar player there, I do see that Avatar on the table.
Yeah, when I can't remember the last time I saw an Eldar play down my local GW, well, our local GW.
Yeah, I've seen. Not so much at our local one. I've definitely seen them down at the.
Oh yeah.
Warhammer World.
I've seen down our local one is Stoke. I've seen Marines. I've seen Chaos. I've seen Necrons. and I think I've seen Admech, and that's it.
Yeah, you're probably your main forces.
I've only seen Nids once.
I have seen Eldor down there. I saw a guy playing his own sort of like kit bashed Wraith Construct army.
Oh yes, I believe I was there with you for that one.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Fucking
you've
hell.
seen.
I'm just a really great liar, aren't I?
You are
I've
doing a
never
great
seen him there before. Oh, what about that time you were with me? Oh yeah.
So therefore, listeners, don't
Just
believe
full of
anything
I'm
what
just
this
full
man
of shit.
is telling you.
Full
Yeah,
of shit,
yeah.
obviously. Yeah.
Disregard everything he said in his previous episodes.
Yeah, just fucking full of shit, born liar. That's it. Right. Well, I think we've rambled on for long enough now. So yeah. Well, thanks for listening, everyone. Like I said, this is just a laid back sort of chat style video, and well, I hope to catch you all again next time from Bone Wraith.
Bone Wraith.
Bone Wraith. Bone Wraith. Yeah.
Bone Wraith.
From Bone Wraith and Licks 24. I'll catch you all next time.
Thanks very much, guys.
See you later.